What's up, folks? Nate here at Two Wheel Dyno Works. We're obviously back on the dyno today with our 2025 Triumph Street Triple 765 RS, and today we're doing some more exhaust-specific testing and tuning. What we've got on the bike today is another slip-on. This time, it's the Zard slip-on, but instead of using the header that was attached to the race fit slip-on we had previously, which was from the older generation 765s that did not have any crossover pipes between the head pipes, this is from the newer generation that does have that crossover between the head pipes, which if you've seen our previous video, you absolutely need to have on these bikes if you're looking to maximize performance. Because any system that does not utilize a crossover pipe in between the head pipes on these bikes, as we've already shown you, causes some pretty significant mid-range losses that you just cannot get around with tuning. They simply do not flow as well, so you just don't want them on your bike. So let's really quick just recap where we started with this bike in bone stock trim and what we were able to accomplish with our custom ECU mapping for the stock exhaust still installed on the bike. See, we've got a good frame of reference for what this Zard exhaust system is actually improving in terms of performance. The red line there is our bike on our dyno in completely bone stock trim when we were done breaking it in. Made 118.6 horsepower and 55.78 pound-feet of torque to the tire on pump gas. And the blue line is the exact same bike with no physical modifications made, but with our custom ECU mapping in place. Power came up to 122.5, and torque came up to about 57.6 pound-feet, again still completely on just standard premium pump gas, with no physical changes made to the bike whatsoever, other than tuning. Now, I'm not going to dive into all of the other significant improvements that we make when we go ahead and flash these ECUs, because we actually did cover that in a prior video for the stock exhaust testing and tuning, so if you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch it further back on our channel. But now that we've got a good frame of reference for where we're starting from on this bike, let's take a look at what we were able to accomplish with the Zard slip-on installed. So the blue line there is still the bike in bone stock trim with our custom ECU mapping in place, and the red line is with the Zard exhaust system installed now that we've optimized the fuel mapping for the new airflow characteristics of this pipe. You can see that there is some improvements that the Zard makes down low, right off the bottom there, where there's a bit of a dip in the stock power curve, around 4,000 RPM. There's some very slight gains that it makes here between about 6, 7, 8,000 RPM. But then really everywhere above about 10,500 RPM, it actually doesn't flow quite as well as the stock system. Now, I did push out the rev limiter just a little bit further here. Again, you never want to exceed 13,000 with these things. The stock internals just can't handle it. So I push it right up toward that, and I didn't quite do that with the stock exhaust still in place, so just ignore the fact that this does rev slightly further now. That has nothing to do with the performance comparison from one setup to another. What we can see here objectively, and I've absolutely seen this as well with how much fuel I had to remove up here at the top end compared to the stock system, is that it simply doesn't flow as well as the stock exhaust above 10,500 RPM. But below 8,000 RPM, there's a considerable amount of fuel I have to add, especially right down here, compared to what we were able to accomplish with the stock exhaust system still in place. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Because in terms of peak power, you gain nothing. Actually, you go backwards a couple horsepower from what the stock exhaust is able to flow. In terms of peak torque, there's virtually no change. But you do gain some power further back in the rev range. Now, at part throttle, I also had to add quite a bit more fuel than was necessary with the stock exhaust system. So those improvements are not just present at wide open throttle, but they're also there at light throttle, further back in the rev range, with the Zard exhaust system installed. So, objectively, because it makes less power at the peak, I can't really honestly say that it's actually better than just leaving the stock system on there. It certainly sounds and looks better than the stock exhaust system, but that loop design that Zard is using seems to be hurting the top-end performance quite a bit. So in terms of my personal recommendation for this looped design that Zard is using and a couple other exhaust manufacturers use, the jury's still out. I have a suspicion that that is actually going to be a problem for top-end performance while creating just a little bit more power down low, but we will not really be able to say that definitively because, again, we still have the stock headers on there, but this time with the crossovers. So once we go ahead and are able to get like our Spark Griddo system installed with the full Spark header as well, we'll be able to properly determine if this is the loop design that is really causing the problem here, or if there's something else in Zard's slip-on design that is costing us some top-end performance. Now, obviously, if you already have one of these Zard slip-on exhaust systems installed on your bike, you like the look and sound, but you want to get it tuned, we can absolutely now help you out. The fuel mapping at light throttle is very, very, very dramatically different from the stock setup. So once you go ahead and have us flash your ECU, if you have this installed already on your bike, it will run massively better than it ever did before. There's a lot of areas, even in light throttle, I'm having to add north of 15% additional fuel over the stock mapping, because yeah, it just flows a lot better down there than it ever did with the stock system, and it's no longer stupidly lean like the stock fuel mapping has these bikes running at part throttle. So if you're looking to get our custom ECU mapping flash into your Triumph 765 RS or Moto 2, again, only the 24 plus models for those of us in North America here at the moment are what we're offering tuning for, head over to tooldynaworks.com, purchase our mail-in ECU flashing service on our site for $349.99, ship us your ECU, and we'll get it flashed and shipped right back to you the very same day we receive it. And we're still not even close to done with all of the exhaust-specific testing and tuning we're going to do here, folks. I have several more systems lined up out there in the shop that we'll be installing and still posting videos for to show you guys the testing and tuning results of each setup as the weeks go on. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to email us at support@tooldynaworks.com, because I personally answer any and all tech support questions every single day we're open here at the shop. That is the only way to go ahead and get a hold of me directly for any technical questions, and we truly are always happy to help.